rather, 7 days training. On Monday, I was hoping that you'd done some sort of cardio, running, jumping, standing still. Then your awareness session that we did during the YouTube session. Bedtime Stretches was the last thing on Monday, which hopefully you did. Then Tuesday, we had zanies during the day, and that was, we showed that. We actually demonstrated the zany tables last Wednesday, so not yesterday, but last Wednesday in the club session in the park. We did the zanies. And then monofin stretching, which I did in a video. Then we had a theory session, really good theory session, Q&A during the YouTube. Yesterday, I was hoping you'd do lazies during the day, just nice and soft, and then we did a club session. So last night's session, we did a standard warm-up, which we transposed from the pool to the park. We did 30-second holds, which was painful. Skipping. I also added in a quick oxymoron, which is one of the exercises we do in the pool sessions, just as an extra, just to fill in some gaps. So if you finish early, you can always do oxys. One set of oxys only takes like 5 minutes or so. So even with 20 people in the pool, everybody can get an oxy in, and it's a great kind of penultimate length before the last length. And we also did some torpedo last night with 5 people. So tonight, or rather today, I was hoping you would have done depth walks during the day. Again, a nice soft one. Then we were going to do mono movement and then bedtime stretches. But I'm going to switch around tomorrow's and tonight's session. So we're going to do equalization tonight. And so that goes in with the bedtime stretches. Okay, so I'm going to switch them around. And then tomorrow night we'll be doing monofin movement. So I'll go through monofin movement tomorrow night with you. So just switching those two around. So tonight we're going to be doing equalization. Just some news. You may or may not know that we are now able to go diving in kind of controlled circumstances. So next Tuesday we're diving, and then the following Saturday at Wraysbury. The week after that I'll be running lessons on the Monday and the Tuesday in Wraysbury. So that is, let me look at the so that's the 22nd and 23rd of June, and there's only 3 spaces per session. So we'll be filling up the Monday the 22nd. There's 3 spaces in the morning, 3 spaces in the afternoon, and that's it. So if you fancy diving and having a lesson, we're going to be doing that on the 22nd, and if there's enough people, we'll do it on the 23rd as well. So I think this is going to be the new format of teaching in the near future. So let me know if you're interested in a lesson on the 22nd. And it will be a 1-to-3 ratio, maximum 1-to-3 ratio. I'll probably have a senior with me as well. So it will be really knuckling down and pinpointing stuff that you want to do. I should have taken the screen off. Sorry. Yeah. So it'll be knuckling down actually on very specific things for you. Okay. So it's not quite a one-to-one, and in fact, one-to-ones are really good in some circumstances, but they're not the best in all circumstances. And actually having somebody else to watch really helps. So yeah, that's it. And let us know if you fancy coming to Egypt in October, or if you fancy coming to Greece. And it looks like now the Perseus, the yacht trip, at the end of September, will go ahead in Greece. So if you fancy coming to that in September, let us know. So without further ado, let's move on with tonight's exercises. If you've just joined me, I've switched tonight and tomorrow's around. So tonight we're going to be doing equalisation, because that fits in with the depth walks that you've been doing during the day and bedtime stretches that you'll do tonight. Okay, so the two things you'll need an ETT, okay, and in fact, even if you haven't got an ETT, you can use a normal balloon. They're not quite as good, and even if you haven't got a normal balloon, you can still do the exercises. It's just that the ETT gives you an amazing amount of feedback on your equalization technique. And strength, in fact, more strength than technique. So with freediving, there's 3 parts to pretty much everything we do in freediving: strength, technique, flexibility. Okay, strength, technique, flexibility. So we're going to be doing strength, which is your ETT. Okay, so that's muscle movements. Okay, then we're going to be doing technique, which is the bombilla or the straw. Okay. And then the flexibility will come when you do bedtime stretches later tonight. Okay. So that your bedtime stretches will be done on your own. So also, please let us know in the comments on the video if you found the 1 week of exercises useful, because I can do it again. We can do it again next week. We can just do sessions every day to complement each other for the week. Or if there's anything you want me to cover next week, just let me know. Okay, so let's start with the ETT. Let's start real basic. So the basic one is just breathe out and blow the balloon up. So if you've got a balloon in your hand, give it a go. Just breathe out everything and then blow up the balloon. Now, if you're just not joining in and just watching, the point of this is you breathe out fully. You're going to push in the diaphragm, or pull in the diaphragm, and that's going to squeeze all the air out. And if you use your diaphragm to equalize, it will run out very quickly. So one of the questions we had on Tuesday was about, somebody asked if when they get to 9 meters, their equalization stops. This is because they're using the diaphragm to push air up and equalize with. Okay. So with the ETT, the first thing we do is get rid of all the air with the diaphragm. So now I can't talk. So at that point I couldn't talk anymore because I pushed all the air out and I couldn't get any more air out. But there's still air in the chest. Technically it's not the residual volume, but for anybody who's just starting out, the residual volume is a perfect name for it. It's a little bit more than residual volume, but that's fine. So there is some air in your lungs which you can't get out. So let's try and get that out. So first thing we do, breathe out completely and then hold your nose if you've never done it before, because it's very easy to kind of cheat. Either air goes in or air comes out the nose. Okay, so you hold your nose and unpack. So you make the noise. Okay. Now, if you are good at unpacking, you can do this for a very long time. Okay. Now, the way you do it is you start with your jaw tight and your tongue to the top of your mouth. Okay. And the cheeks are completely unflated. Okay, so jaw up, tongue top of the mouth, and cheeks soft. And as we start to unpack, we can drop the jaw, drop the tongue, and expand the cheeks. And we can use the throat as well to pull up air. Okay, so we can do it in sections like this. So I'm breathing out completely. And you can see I'm using the jaw to expand the mouth, the space in the mouth, and the tongue as well is dropping down. But I'm using the throat muscles to pull the air up. Okay? So that's the technique of unpacking. It's subtly different from mouth fill, which is very dangerous. So don't go down that route. Don't look up that no matter what people tell you, it is very dangerous. You damage your lungs instantly if you use mouthfeel. So, but unpacking, it's a lot safer, and it's very difficult to damage your lungs when you're unpacking, because it's you doing the exercise, you putting the pressure on, you kind of flexing the chest inwards, so you can be fully aware of what you're doing and control it. And that's the important thing, awareness, and then you can control it. So what we're going to do is, I've breathed out everything, so so you can see I'm unpacking, and then I'm putting the air into the balloon. Now, you don't have to take the balloon out of the mouth, but when you unpack and then push it into the balloon, I was just doing that to demonstrate that my lips are sealed. I'm pinching the balloon and I'm unpacking, and then it goes into the balloon. All right. Now, the point of the exercise is you will never fill the balloon, okay, and you will never find the end of it, okay. So if you can unpack once and get it into the balloon, perfect, brilliant, you have done it. You have unpacked and you put some in the balloon. If you, in fact, let's say if you can do two, you've done it, because the first one might be a little bit of a, not a cheat, but a little bit borderline, because you may have a little bit of air left in the diaphragm. So if you can unpack twice and get it into the balloon, that's it. You have unpacked. You've got a deep equalization technique there in your hand, ready to go. All right. Your chest will stop at some point. Your chest will not be flexible enough to go any further. That's fine. That's what you do the bedtime stretches for, to get more flexibility. But the strength of pulling up is what we're practicing now. So it will stop at some point, and you may get two, you may get three, you may get one. Okay, one is absolutely fine. Half is fine. If you've never done it before, half is fine. When you get to two, you know you've got it down. You know you can't cheat. So unpack once, push it into the balloon. The balloon will go to about there. Unpack again. Okay, and you can feel the balloons getting harder. Okay, the pressure in the balloon is going up every time we do it, which means it takes more strength for us to force the air into the balloon every time we unpack. So it gets harder and harder and harder. Right. So let's have another go at this. Now, Kiri looking for an ETT. Okay, so breathe out completely. If you're new to it, hold the nose. Okay, unpack, put it into the balloon. If you get two, you are winning. Okay, any more than that, then you're practicing the strength. And if you noticed towards the end of that, on the breathing into the balloon, my head was doing this. Okay, so what I'm doing is that unpacking, I'm creating space in the mouth, and when I'm equalizing, I'm squeezing. Okay, so you'll see I'll unpack and equalize. Okay, you can see on that last one how it's squeezing everything in. Okay, so give it another go. Give it another go. Not many comments there. Hopefully everybody's, there's a few people watching, but nobody commenting. So hopefully everybody's doing it and getting something out of it. The second part of tonight's session will require a bombilla, a straw. Okay, you can use anything, a biro if you just take the biro out. And what we're doing is we're circular breathing, and this is control of the soft palate. So start from the beginning and start up and work our way up. Sorry, and you don't need a straw to do this. Okay. Okay, so I've got a couple of comments. You can bring the air up. I have difficulty putting it in the balloon. That's perfect. That is perfect. Okay, so you can get the air up, but you're having problem putting it. Sorry, this is not the bombilla. We just go back. I've just had a couple of comments come up on the screen. So that's perfect. There's 2 stages to equalization when you're deep equalization. Bringing the air up. This is why you make a noise, so you've brought air up when you're diving or even dry. And then pushing it out takes practice. It's a skill. Okay, so yes, you can push your hands with your cheeks. Okay, because you're trying to develop the awareness of what you're trying to do. Okay, so absolutely. So that's absolutely fine. Okay, you can, and eventually you'll get the feel of it. And yes, you do. In this case, you have to lock off the Eustachian tubes. So the fact that the air goes up your Eustachian tubes, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. What I suggest you do is you take an ETT and put a tiniest tiny hole in it. Okay, so this is for Kiri, who can bring up air but can't put it out. Okay, it goes up the Eustachian tubes. Put the tiniest of tiny holes in the balloon, just like a pinprick. And then every time you unpack, the pressure doesn't increase, okay? Because you don't want to damage your Eustachian tubes. But what you're doing is actually what you want to do when you dive in. So don't change it to meet this exercise. Keep it as it is. Unpack, put it into the balloon. If there's a hole in the balloon, it will slowly go down as you're unpacking again. And then, so you're not increasing the pressure, but you're unpacking more and more and more. Okay. So, sorry, I digress. Let's move on with the bombilla. Okay, so circular breathing. So, and this starts with exactly the same as we've just finished with. So this actually answers the same. Well, not answers. It's the same answer as I gave a minute ago. So we've got air in the cheeks, and we're trying to push it out. Okay, and this you can use your cheeks, your hands. Okay, it's part 1. Part 2 is you sniff air through the nose as you're doing it. So if you can do it, it's like this. Right. If you can't do it, you can squeeze the cheeks and sniff. So just sniff in. Okay. And that you can practice and practice and practice until you can get the squeezing out controlled. But it's not from the diaphragm, it's definitely the cheeks. Okay? And you can breathe quite naturally. So I can get a nice full breath in, gently squeezing the cheeks. Okay? And to be honest, most people do this every time they have a thick milkshake and they're drinking through their straw. If it's a thick milkshake, you don't see people drinking out of a straw, drink, and then breathe and go back to it. They just breathe through their nose and they suck the air into their mouth. And then they breathe through their nose while they're drinking from a straw. Okay? Especially with a thick milkshake, because it doesn't come out so quick. So we're just doing this in the opposite way. We are blowing out and sniffing in. Okay? So, to make sure you are actually doing it, you can check you're doing it by having just a glass of water, and you can see the bubbles. can breathe in and out through your nose while blowing bubbles. Okay, that's the ultimate goal. And this feeds back into the first exercise, the ETT, where you're trying to separate the mouth from the throat and from the lungs, and the same with this. Okay, so give it a go, give it a practice. Okay, if you haven't got the straw, it doesn't matter. You can just do them. I'm blowing on the mic, and I'm breathing as well. I'll try and kind of separate the so you can hear. And if you can hear that, so the breathing is soft. The breathing through the nose. Okay. Now, this is super important for you to learn. Super important for you to learn, because not only is it a skill that you need when you start equalizing deep, and it gives you control over the glottis and locking off, but it ultimately 100%. Would you like to borrow my straw?
No, I think you've partially damaged the mic with the straw and blowing on it. It's making a noise.
Okay, sorry, apparently the mic's making a funny noise. Oh dear. No, I can't hear it. There's nothing I can do now anyway. So, yeah, so sorry if the mic's making a funny noise. What was I saying? So, yeah, not only is it a skill that you need when you go diving, it's 100% about awareness, okay? And awareness about your breath. So you want to keep it super smooth, okay? Exactly the same as when we're doing the breath awareness exercise that we did on Monday, okay? Super smooth, okay? And you are obviously always you're in control of it, but in this exercise you're changing between controlling it with cheeks, controlling it with your diaphragm, cheeks, diaphragm, and that awareness is key and super important. So Alicia's asked, what's the position of the tongue? Well, the position of the tongue will change. So as you're pushing the air out, the tongue will start low and go up to the top of the mouth. So it's squeezing. Okay. In exactly the opposite way of when you're unpacking, where the tongue starts up the top and sucks, makes a bigger space in the mouth. This we're squeezing with the tongue. Okay. So the tongue is a vital part of it. You can do it without the tongue, obviously, but the tongue's there and we can use it. Okay. When you transfer these over to equalizing, then we need to stop the air coming out. So when we're actually underwater equalizing, we're not going to put the air into the balloon, we're going to put it into Eustachian tubes, which means the lips are shut. Now, the first way you're going to stop the air going out of your mouth is called a lip lock. So you're locking with the lips and stopping the air going out. And this is what Kiri's doing, and the air goes instantly up her Eustachian tubes. She's got good control of the Eustachian tubes, they're nice and openy, and the air goes straight up. When you haven't got as much air, or if you want a little bit more subtlety to your equalization, in other words, you don't want to be equalizing going, okay, you can use a T-lock. So the tongue will be the top of the mouth, just behind the top teeth, as if you're saying the letter T. T. Okay, and this is the third part that I want to go through tonight: how you can strengthen your voluntary opening of the tubes. So we did that the equalization lecture weeks ago. So the ultimate goal is hands-free equalizing, and we create that pressure with the mouth and the throat to equalize with, and we need to open Eustachian tubes so we can yawn, hear the crackle, and if the tongue's at the top of the the mouth, we can equalize against the tongue. Okay, little bits. You can practice it dry, but realistically, it's when we get back in the water you're going to be able to practice that thing. Okay, so so recap: ETT, practicing their strength. So stretching, sucking up air, strong movement. Squeezing out air, kind of a strong movement again, very big movement. Right. Then we move to technique, which is with a straw, which exactly the same squeezing technique with a mouth, but a lot more subtle. Okay. Okay. And we try and breathe at the same time. And then later on, when you take that into the water, you're going to stop the air coming out, either into a straw or the balloon, obviously, because you're in the water and you want to equalize with it. So lip lock or T-lock. Open the tubes and you can still create that pressure to push the air up into the Eustachian tubes. Okay, so give them a go. You can't really, it's very difficult to practice equalization at the final locking until you're in water. You can do it, but I would suggest you practice the ETT and the bombilla a lot. And of course, tonight you're going to do bedtime stretches, which is the flexibility. So again, the three things: strength, technique, flexibility. This is the flexibility part. So you breathe out, lean forwards. I'll do it. I'll just do it. Okay, let's move the camera down just a little bit so you can see my chest. Okay, so breathe out, lean forward. Not done it before, hold the nose. Sit up, put your shoulders back, and then stick out your belly, and the chest will come in. So let me try and do it about here. You won't see it with a t-shirt on, so they're just perfect. Okay, so you can see a little bit of movement on my chest there. Okay, it's very difficult doing it in a kind of squatting position. So that's your bedtime stretches. Now I'm going to ask you to do that tonight. You can look it up on the stretching session. Okay, it was a couple of weeks ago. Give a full explanation of it there. So hopefully you're going to join us tomorrow night on Friday, where we're going to do monofin movement exercises. So you will need a towel and preferably a buddy, and we're going to go through monofin movement exercises. And during the day, I would ask you to do pain walks. Okay, so that's something in the order of 15 to 18 double paces, empty lung, and at the end of that, when you're doing a recovery breath, you keep walking at pace. It's got to be at pace, and you just have to do that 4 times. That's fine. So you recover at pace, but you'll feel the build up of the ions, commonly known wrongly as lactic acid. Okay, so that's why they call the pain walks. So if you do that during the day, and then we'll do the monofin movement tomorrow night. So thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully see you next week. If you can't come to the lake on Monday, Tuesday, please come to Richmond Park session on Wednesday. Try and make it a massive day. We're going to try and make it a big one. And yeah, so try and get like 12 people, maybe 18 people. Be brilliant. So we can have 3 groups go around. We can show how you can get 18 people to do their try session together. Be brilliant. So thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow night.